Engine mechanical testing uses a series of tests to assess the mechanical condition of the engine. Today we're going to be talking about running and cranking compression tests, vacuum testing, and power balance testing of each cylinder. The running compression test checks the engine's ability to move air into and out of the cylinder. This is referred to as the engine's ability to breathe. With the adapter hooked up to the gauge and inserted in the spark plug hole, we will then crank over the car and let it run at an idle. We will then see that our gauge is reading at 80 psi, which is about half of the pressure that it would read at a cranking compression test. Using the same equipment, we can run a cranking compression test. The engine should crank until at least 5 compression pulses are observed on a compression gauge to get an accurate reading. If the final reading is low, there could be a problem with the valves, rings, pistons, or head gasket, all of which are major engine problems. With our specifications being 142 psi to 198 psi, we can see that this cylinder passed the cranking compression test. Next is vacuum testing. The vacuum gauge reading shows the difference between outside atmospheric pressure and the amount of vacuum in the engine. The vacuum gauge is installed in a vacuum port on the intake manifold. Always select the largest and most centrally located vacuum port. The typical vacuum reading for a properly running engine at idle is a steady 17 to 21 inches of vacuum. With the throttle fully pressed, the vacuum will drop to zero, go a little bit above what it normally runs at idle, and then steadily drop back down. We can test to see how much each cylinder is contributing to the engine's output by disabling one cylinder at a time and measuring the RPM drop. This is known as a cylinder power balance test. You can manually perform a power balance test by disconnecting either the coil connector or the injector connector. When we unplug one of the cylinder's coil connectors, we can see that the engine will start to shake more than what it was earlier. The greater the difference in RPM drop, the greater the difference between each cylinder's ability to produce its share of the engine's power. Now we have covered the basics of mechanical engine testing, and you should know the basic operation of each test and what you are testing for. Have a great day, everybody.